Merry Christmas. Welcome to the Scoop Board Order. I know you guys are getting ready to celebrate Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Nice little time off with the family. Appreciate you guys being a part of us. We're going to go through the 5 reasons why Ohio State is going to win the Cotton Bowl. Really excited about the show. We're going to knock it out a little bit early. A lot of good football on it this afternoon. So we want to get this done and be with you guys a little bit. Spend some time with your families this evening. So as always, we appreciate you guys. Thank you for supporting our Pay It Forward Fund. All of the super chats that are already flowing in are going towards our troops overseas. Right now, we've been handing these out up until Monday. We'll do a show Monday as well. So we appreciate you guys kicking it with us as always. If you enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. Those are huge to grow the channel. It's been incredible growth over the last 2 months. So thank you guys so much for all you guys do. Shout out where you guys are watching from. And shout out, do you guys have any Christmas traditions? I'd love to hear those in the comments, in the chat. So go ahead and fire away with those because I love learning more about our audience and what you guys do. So we appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have a very Merry Christmas and have a great holiday season. I'm going to get right into it with Nevada Buck. Nevada, it's kind of crazy, but bowl game is, like 6 days away. How are you feeling about the Cotton Bowl? The team's prep's been going good. Devin Brown is the guy now. Kyle McCord, again, I don't like bagging on Kyle McCord because he did what he felt like he had to do, but man, is he going to a really bad program. They got waxed the other night by South Florida. How are you feeling heading into the Cotton Bowl about a week out?
Man, I'm feeling a lot better. Like at the end of the Michigan game, you're really not sure what you're going to get. You don't have any idea what kind of a bowl season it's going to be, what kind of preparation for 2024 it's going to be, what kind of attitude the guys are going to have going into the game. And I've seen good ones and I've seen bad ones. And we all know we don't have to remember some of the terrible Ohio State bowl performances to we've all been there, done that.
Oh, yeah.
And this just feels a little bit like, and this is a game you played in, like that 04 what Oklahoma State was
Yeah,
it? Yeah,
Alamo
Oklahoma
Bowl.
State.
Yeah.
Alamo Bowl. This just feels like that game. Maybe because it's down there in Texas. Maybe because it's on the opponent that kind of feels Oklahoma Statey. But no, I just think that the Buckeyes are. This is about as sharp and it's about as good as I could have ever hoped them to look for in this particular bowl game. It's not the college football playoff. It's not playing for the national championship. It's not even the Rose Bowl with the granddaddy of malls. It's kind of a consolation prize like it was with Utah when we played. But they're sharper than they were before the Utah game. I'm telling you, before the Utah game, it was kind of half in, half out, stuff going on, a lot of distractions. But we still found a way to win this game. Ohio State sharp. Ohio State is sharp, and I am calling an Ohio State victory. I am betting an Ohio State victory, and I'm very excited about watching the game on the 29th. So I can't wait.
Yeah, I totally agree. I got a super chat. Ed Harris, thank you for the 10. Appreciate you, my man. Merry Christmas. If you have a question, toss that in the chat. Appreciate you, my man. No, I agree. I think that you talking about that Oklahoma State game, because you got to remember Troy got suspended for that game, so we put Zwick in, and it wasn't the great unknown, but he'd been benched, and then he came back, and we played great. I mean, we were motivated, fired up. Again, there's a lot of ways you can take a bowl game, especially when you're Ohio State, because that was the year that we went 8-4, which is not up to the standard at Ohio State. Obviously, we were. We had that stretch. We lost 3 straight, and I mean, you lose 3 straight at Ohio State, man. They're ready to kick your dog and sell your house, and you're not going to get any pretty girls. It sucks. So we were able to rally, beat Michigan, kind of capstone the season with that Alamo Bowl. But it's hard because when you go to a bowl game that isn't one of the big dogs, and the Cotton Bowl is a much more significant bowl game than the Alamo Bowl, but you feel like a scrub if you're not at the Fiesta Bowl or you're not in the playoffs or you're not in the championship. So like when you're Ohio State, I mean, you got to remember, like, 02, we go to the Fiesta. 03, we go to the Fiesta. So we're used to, like, that's like the best bowl game there is, the Fiesta Bowl. So then all of a sudden we're at the Alamo Bowl, and, you're not home for Christmas. Like, you're down, you really, like, back then, it's different now with how the playoffs are structured, where they play, and the teams usually have to travel on Christmas. But back then it was like, if you had to be away from your home on Christmas, it was a bad season. And we were in San Antonio for Christmas, and that sucked. And these guys are going to be in Dallas for Christmas, and that sucks. But, you got to make the best of it. And you don't play football for real long. You only play it for a few years of your life. When it's done, it's done. But that was a fun game because it was, again, it's these bowl games are big time catapults into the offseason for momentum, for fundraising, for NIL, for recruiting, for players stock projections. And now if you're a player, if you ball out in these games, man, you're a target of NIL deals. Like companies want to work with you. So there's a lot at stake. You're going to be, if you want to be preseason All-American, preseason All Big Ten, whatever, ball out in this game. And, because everyone's going to be watching. Like that's the thing is when you're playing in the Cotton Bowl, there ain't any other game on at the same time. Like the whole world's watching you play Missouri, and they get to see what Devin Brown's all about or whatever. And the thing I love about this, we'll get into our 5 reasons why Ohio State's going to win is there hasn't been a lot of gyrations or opt-outs or things that we've had to switch or change or whatever, which is really nice because when we played Utah a few years ago in the Rose Bowl, Nick Petit-Frere opted out, so we had to put Thayer at left tackle. Oh, and he did great. He did fine, obviously. We lost Garrett, we lost Olave. We haven't had that. I mean, again, there's some guys that are maybe on the fence still, but a lot of these guys are playing because, again, they didn't get the NFL draft grades they wanted. So these guys got to go ball out. And I think there's a good shot. A lot of these guys are coming back next year, which, again, that's like getting like a 7-star recruit on signing day when you get maybe JT Tuimoloau back, Trey Henderson back. I mean, there ain't no high school kids as good as those guys. So that'd be amazing if we get them, Jack Sawyer. But there's a lot of momentum right now because there's a good chance that this team could be even better next season, despite losing Marvin, despite whoever else leaves, because we're getting JJ, we're getting Carnell, we're getting Innis, and Devin Brown's got some stuff to him. Malik Murphy just committed to Duke, so I feel like we're all in on Devin at this point, and this is going to be a huge game for him. Got another super chat, Ed Harris. Appreciate you, my man. Thank you for the 5. You guys have me addicted. Hey, man, we love doing this. Again, little Christmas shopping last night, so we're doing a morning show to make up for last night. Appreciate the content. If everyone has this projected to stays, how will this team rank versus the 20? Now, the 2015 Buckeyes is probably the most talented Ohio State team of all time. And again, I know there's some guys that'll talk about the 69 team and some of the really, really good teams from the past, but you look at that 15 team, man. They won the playoff and then they brought everybody back, which was amazing. I think that 15 team and that 19 team are probably the two most talented teams I've seen. My 05 team probably could have beat either of them. It would have been tough, but we had AJ Hawk and Santonio and Troy Smith. We had some monsters on the team. But Nevada, assume everybody comes back except for Marvin. Just like, let's just be as optimistic can be. Where would that team rank versus the 2015 team, like next year's team?
Well, look, first of all, I always love these discussions, these hypothetical discussions about the talent level on different teams. And what you have to remember is when you're evaluating a 1969 team or a 2015 team, what you're doing is you're looking at that team, and then you've got the benefit of having seen how those guys have done in the NFL and other things to kind of add to your data. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what I would say, as blasphemous as this sounds, is I think this team is the most talented team, top to bottom, in Ohio State history. And I'm just talking about the depth of the players, and I think it'll be borne out over time. This team is going to crank out a lot of guys to the NFL. Will they be the top end guy? I mean, Marvin Harrison certainly will be. Trey Henderson's going to be great. Emeka is going to be great. Carnell Tate's going to be great. Brandon Innes is going to be great. JT Tuimoloau is going to be great. I mean, you're going to have guys that are impact guys, but it's so hard to have those discussions right now because we've been able to see, Ezekiel as a, NFL, all pro and,
Yeah.
Mike Thomas and, and just down the list. But no, I think this team is as talented as a team as we've had. I felt that way since I first saw them in the spring. It's a super deep team. And so that's why they can absorb blows like losing the number of depth guys that they did to the portal. And that's where people don't understand. The outside world looks at that and it's like, oh man, Ohio State's in disarray. Ohio State's in a lot of trouble. Wow, did you see all those guys portaling out? But you smart guys that are smart guys and gals that are here on the scoop and watching these podcasts, you realize they were good players. And I mean, Julian Fleming's a good player and Cal McCord's there, but man, the rest of the people are just just guys that were looking for an opportunity to play, and we don't begrudge them one bit looking for an opportunity to play, but hardly impact. So Ohio State, as scary as it may sound to the rest of the college football world, Ohio State's probably going to be better next year. I don't think there's any question. I think Ohio State, if early returns from Devin Brown in the in bowl prep are any indication, we are going to be better next year than we were this year, and that should be very scary to the rest of the teams in college football.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that the line will be better up front because a lot of those guys, we'll lose Matt Jones, but the rest of those guys are back. And, you got to find a guy to play that fifth spot. But, at tight end, losing Cade is a blow. There's no doubt. But, you can make it work with Jelani Thurman and G. Scott. I mean, I'd put Jelani as the starter and have G back him up. And I don't know if they'll do that just because of the seniority thing. But receiver, I mean, we get JJ Smith, man. I mean, JJ Smith looks like an NFL kid right now. I mean, he's unbelievably mature, smart, and he's all business. I'm telling you, like, you guys are gonna love JJ Smith. He's the best player I think I've ever seen. And I'm not trying to that's ultra hyperbole, like, but he's like a Jadeveon Clowney. Like when you see Jadeveon Clowney, do you guys want something fun to watch? Go watch his high school highlight tape. It's the greatest highlight tape I've ever seen. It's insane. And like that was a guy that when you saw him as an 18-year-old in high school, you're like, he's gonna be the first pick in the draft and he's gonna be 3 and out and everything. And he was. And that's kind of that's what JJ is. Like there's not many guys that you see him and you're just like, Laramie Tunsil was like that too. Laramie Tunsil was his high school tape was unbelievable, and he's probably the second best left tackle in the NFL right now. And he's made 100. He makes like 30 million a year to play tackle. But some guys are just like that, And I don't know. Again, like you said, the hypothetical thing, it is interesting because when you talk about the NFL stuff, when you look at what Joey Bosa has done, and then you look at the college awards like Elfline and Billy Price and Taylor Decker's second contract, and it really throws a lot of layers onto evaluating the teams because 15 might have been the best team we've ever had, but next year's team could be really good. I'm telling you, like I think our people are going to be sleeping on this team. And here's the other thing that not enough people talk about: Michigan is going to get hit with a nuclear bomb in March. I mean, like there's going to be nothing left. It's going to look like Chernobyl. So it's going to be really ugly up north. And again, their schedule. Go look at their schedule. Like they got Texas coming to Ann Arbor. They got USC. I mean, they've got a monster schedule. Like, I mean, so not only are they going to lose everybody, like, I mean, so I'm sure Jim Harbaugh is trying to take any NFL job he can get, and they're going to get, sanctioned to death. But then they play this wickedly tough schedule. So, everybody, like all these Michigan people that are like having their day in the sun right now, it's about to be like a nuclear winter up there pretty quick. Do you agree with that, Nevada?
Oh, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. I mean, the hammer is coming. I mean, the NCAA is so upset about what Michigan's done. They're actually changing the rules that won't be able to affect Michigan now, but it's literally being pitched as the Michigan rule to be able to allow them to administer quicker punishments in season for in season types of infractions, and they're gonna hit these guys. And Michigan has not been cooperative. Michigan has not been honest. Look at the level one infraction that Harbaugh is. I mean, Michigan fans. This is how delusional Michigan fans are. Michigan fans want to characterize that first infraction as, "Oh, it was over a cheeseburger. It's because he bought a kid a cheeseburger. It's the cheeseburger infraction." And it's like, no. And the NCAA actually clarified that, and they're like, "This wasn't about a cheeseburger. This was about lying to the NCAA investigators." So they've got two simultaneous investigations coming for lying, and like I said, we've got really good information that the timeline for I'll hedge the little March, so maybe March, April, but the March, April timeline is when the hammer is going to fall, and it's going to fall hard, and it's going to, like you said, winter is coming, Michigan. I'm just telling you, winter is coming, and we're going to be hosting a watch party on the 1st to watch the official end of Michigan football as we know it, when Alabama pushes your stool in, but that's a different story. So we can get on to the 5 reasons. You want reason number 5 why Ohio State is going to win the country. For all you bettors out there, get on your Bet Online accounts right now. Get on your FanDuel accounts because Nevada's going to lay this out for the number 5 reason. Can I give you a number 5 reason now?
Let's go.
All hands on deck. All hands on deck. Ohio, the betting public has not clued in, and the people have not clued into the fact that guys are playing in the Cotton Bowl, and you could even see it's not inconceivable that you could see Marvin Harrison in the Cotton Bowl. As crazy as that sounds, is not inconceivable. He's been practicing like that. Now we don't know that, but what we do know is everybody's been practicing, and it's not practice. It's not working out. They've been practicing, and that's different. Guys in the past have worked out with the team, but they've gone up to the thing and then they opt out. Now, look, on the eve of the game, you could have 5 guys opt out or whatever it is, and this could all be. But I don't think so. I don't think so. They're not practicing that way. That's not kind of the buzz around the team. All hands on deck. Reason number 5 why Ohio State wins the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, for me, reason number 4 is our experience. And real quick, I want to get the super chat knocked out. I appreciate you, Larry Daniel 1, my man. Appreciate you, Scoop Ultra member. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Oh, thank you for the 5. Happy Hanukkah to all the SWO and Scoop family. Appreciate you again. We anything that you guys celebrate. I usually say Christmas and Hanukkah, but anything else that you guys celebrate this time of year, enjoy it, appreciate it, be around your family. If you're not around your family, then we're on every night at 7, so we can hang out and kick it. So we appreciate you guys as always. But again, I love the camaraderie of the show. This is kind of the magic of it. Is like it's just different. Like we love seeing you guys in here on the live stream, in the chats. Again, it doesn't just feel like it's just sitting here doing a podcast. Like we get to interact with like Sue and Dave, like a lot of you guys, the regulars that are in here every day. We appreciate you guys so much helping grow the show. My number 4 is going to be experience. Again, Ryan Day, he's had, he's fought some juggernauts now. I mean, people make a lot of his 7 losses, but man, a lot of his losses were monstrous, huge, crazy, tough games. Like, I mean, he hasn't choked it up versus too many. So he's fought some wars now. I mean, Clemson, when they were real good in 19, Bama in 20, one of the best Bama teams ever, loaded for bear. I think Ryan Day's experience in bowl prep and getting a team gassed up, ready to go in bowl games, because again, like you got to remember, like last year, we should have won the national championship. We're a field goal away from winning the national title. So he knows how to get these guys primed up, ready to go. And again, I thought he did a better job up at Ann Arbor. Now, did we win? No. And again, I know that losing to Michigan is unacceptable. There's nobody knows that better than I do. I was a captain. I played there. Actually, I had to lead the team out of the tunnel and win the coin toss and go play. And I played really well against Michigan. But I thought our guys were ready to go. I thought they fought. They didn't roll over and die like 2 years ago. So I think that's an improvement. But you look at Missouri last year at this time, they were playing in the Armed Forces Bowl. So, it's 24-22. They lose to Army. They don't have the depth of experience that Ryan Day does, playing in these big games, coaching in these big games. And I think that matters. I think that in bowl games, it's really about who can prime the team and get that team gassed up at the right moment and get them peaked and ready to go. Because it's tough managing a layoff, managing all this garbage, Christmas, and Christmas is not garbage. But it's just like you have to manage emotions and kids, and that's the tough part with football. Is like, you got to get ready to play on Christmas Day, practice on Christmas Day, and in most walks of life, most of you guys that work your regular jobs, like I work a day job. Like you're off on Christmas and you're off on Christmas Eve, and you get a couple days off. And in football, there's no days off. Like you got to get the guys ready to go practice and have a good hard practice on Christmas Day, and that's like counterintuitive. Like in every other, in high school football and high school basketball, like you don't do anything on Christmas Day. But in you get into big time football, man, there are no days off. So you have to manage that, and it takes a skill to do it, because you can say, hey guys, I know it's Christmas, and for the first 18, 19 years of your life, you guys have never done anything on Christmas except hang out with your family and drink eggnog. But we got to get ready to go, and we got to go. We got a werewolf at the other end of the field coming to get us, and we better go get ready to whoop it. So I think Ryan's experience in that is huge. Again, he's coached in way bigger games than this, and I think that when you've coached in the biggest games, like a national championship game, it's the experience is invaluable. And that was something that Tress was great about, getting us ready to go. Urban was fantastic at it. I think Ryan is getting better at it as he goes along. And honestly, I think we have a better team. Couple super chats to that. I'm going to knock these out before you get to reason number 3. Appreciate you guys. Noonan, thanks for the 5. Merry Christmas to the best damn site in the line. We appreciate you, my man. Again, BuckeyeScoop.com is a living dream for us. Like every day that we're on it is a blast. We love interacting with everybody, kicking with everybody. I know I'm crazy, but I give everyone my cell phone number. This number, BuckeyeScoop.com, which, I've never had a bad experience with it, but I let people have access, and I want people to feel like they're part of something. So we appreciate all of the members of BuckeyesCoop.com. Again, it's a fantastic experience for Nevada and I, Bill Green, our whole staff, Oracle. Really, really good people, helping technicians. We got some great people on there, and they're hilarious, especially offline on our chats. Speaking of betting, how about Alabama to win by 14 plus in OSU moneyline parlay plus 900 territory? Nevada, I'll let you take that as our resident gambling machine.
Well, I mean, look, I mean, Michigan. We've seen what Michigan's done against these SEC teams before, so I mean, at plus 900, I like that action. I mean, I like the hedge to the Ohio State money line. I mean, I personally think Michigan's going to get violated. I don't think Michigan's very good. I, I I I think we played hard up at Michigan, but I don't think we played smart. I think I think Ryan was tight as a drum
Mm-hmm.
up at Michigan, um, which was less. I think that was really tough for us, and I think we put ourselves in a bad spot with that early pick down to the 6-7 yard line or whatever it was. Got behind in that game, so but I don't think Michigan's that good. I think their offense is really, you know, I mean, what do they line up and they run it in the middle of the line 4 times and try to hope they get 10 yards. And I don't think you can do that against Saban. I don't think you can do that against those big boys down there from Alabama. So no, I like that's an interesting part. I hadn't looked at that parlay, but I like that. I like that, and I certainly am going to be betting some iteration of that throughout the bowl week.
Yeah. All right, Sue, appreciate you. Thanks for the 10. The queen of the podcast, because you're on here every single day, so we appreciate you so much, Sue, as always. Thanks for the 10. Does JJ McCarthy come back next year? I think he does. He's like one of these kids that he could be like like a 7th-year senior at Michigan and get 7 medical redshirt years or whatever, because he seems like a kid he'll never want to leave. You say I think he does if they don't win the Natty. I think he's coming back regardless. He strikes me as a kid that is infatuated with college and being a Michigan man and whatever. Nevada, you probably agree with that, I assume.
Actually, I don't. I don't agree with that.
Really?
The reason I don't agree with that is because I think that from McCarthy's standpoint, I mean, look, he's a Michigan guy and he loves college football, but he's not stupid. I mean, he can see what's coming, and I think this draft right now, I mean, he's being overvalued in the NFL draft because so many teams are looking for a quarterback, and so I've heard from very smart people that follow, very high up agents that are like, dude, you're not going to believe the number of quarterbacks that are going to go in the first round or the first 2 rounds. And so I think for McCarthy, I think he goes. But, I think when you combine that with the fact that they're losing so much talent and the nuclear bombs come, he's going to get wasted. And so coming back, and then next year they play at Columbus. And so does he really want to go out his last game with Ohio State, beating them, 54-7 or something like that? I don't think so. I think he's gonna get while the getting's good. He's got a really good reason to do it, and I think he leaves. But look, I didn't think that Chad Henne and Bike Hart and the Jake Long and all those guys were coming back to defeat you in 07. So what? I mean, like, what do I do? I'm not good at calling Ohio State guys back, so I certainly can't tell what Michigan guys are going to do.
Oh, I was shocked when those guys all came back, especially Jake. I mean, Jake was a top 5 pick all day. I mean, Levi Brown, again, my junior year was the greatest year in Big Ten history for offensive tackles because it was Joe Thomas, first ballot Hall of Famer, Jake Long, first overall pick, Levi Brown, 5th overall pick, Marshall Yonda played like 14 years for the Ravens, and then little old me and Yonda were the second team tackles. We tied, so it was like they had like 3 tackles on the second team, but it was just like it was crazy. I mean, super talented, and again, I got to know Jake when I played with him in Miami. He's a great dude. I mean, really good dude. I hate Michigan, but he's the guy that want to fit in it. Not every Michigan guy would fit in Ohio State. Like Mike Hart wanted to fit in, but Henne and Jake were actually decent dudes. They're actually really good dudes. Do you want to go with reason number 3 at Nevada?
I can. The reason number 3 is I'm going to say strength versus strength. Missouri likes to throw the ball, likes to get the ball to the outside. That's kind of what their bread and butter is. And our defense, what are we best at doing? We're best at defending the pass, and I think that that's going to be a strength versus strength matchup. Whenever you have strength versus strength, you always look to who's got the better players. Football, just like basketball, is a game of matchups, and I think this is a good matchup for Ohio State. I think this is it's a good matchup for our pass rush. It's a good matchup for us defensively. Um, I'll put our back seven up against anybody. And I think for Ohio State, I think from what they see on tape, I think they've got stuff that they can contain Missouri. They'll be able to get enough stops, and I don't think Missouri's going to be able to get enough stops on us, and that's why I've got Ohio State winning by a couple of scores.
Yeah, and I mean they lost to LSU 49-39 in October. I mean, I'm just looking at their schedule. I mean, coming down the stretch, they played Arkansas, who's terrible, Florida, who's terrible, Tennessee, they waxed 36-7, but and they had that game against Georgia. That was Georgia's kind of their one big game they played all year. And they lost 30-20, but like I don't think Georgia's that great. And again, it might be sacrilegious because they lost the SEC championship at the buzzer, but I just think that they were down this year. So I think that we've played a tougher schedule. I think that we've played better teams. I think Michigan's better than anybody they've seen, including Georgia. So again, I like where we're sitting at. Another super chat from Sue. I'm gonna knock this out before I get to reason number 2. Thank you for the 5, Sue. Appreciate you, and Merry Christmas. How do we get Ryan Day to not play tight against the team up north? Does he need therapy? I don't know if he needs therapy. I don't know what he needs. I mean, what would your advice be, Nevada? Like, does he need to go light a cigarette before the game, or throw in a chew, or drink a shot of Jack, or do you like Marshawn Lynch and do a shot of Hennessy before the game, or I don't know. Like whatever he did against Georgia was great. Go ahead.
Well, I think he's just got to realize that is the. I mean, look, he's a smart guy. I mean, he's a brilliant guy. I mean, he's a guy that's been able to take his career and take it to the pinnacle of college football at a really, really young age, and keep the Ferrari on the tracks, and clearly he's a brilliant guy, and I think somehow the brain connection has just got to cross over for him, where he realizes that him calling a loose game, him being more confident and having more courage when he's out there actually gives his team a better chance to win, because somehow right now he's convinced himself that in those situations that being conservative is the best path to victory, and it's just not. It's just not. I mean, he called a scared game up in Ann Arbor. Let's just call it what it is. I'm not saying he's a bad coach. I'm not saying I want anybody else. I mean, you and I have gone through this exercise before, where we're like, okay, Mr. Barton, you've got a dream. You can pick anybody you want, that's reasonable to be the head coach at Ohio State. Who's it going to be? And you're like, can't come up with anybody. And I'm like,
No.
yeah, that's the problem. Is we're not saying that there's nobody out there. We're just saying it's not obvious who that person is. So the fact that we've got a guy that can win 91% of his games and keep the program clean and represent it the right way and recruit quarterbacks and wide receivers at a high level and have a high-powered offense. Look, he's got some warts. He's got to loosen up. We got to get loose Ryan in the bowl game, and he's got to make that. He's got to figure it out that that's the best way for him to win. And I think he will. If this bowl prep's any indication, we're going to get loose Ryan on the 29th, and loose Ryan is a good Ryan.
Again, there is a sect of the fan base that is obsessed with Mike Vrabel. They want Vrabes to come back. I know Vrabes. I worked with him for 2 years, literally in the staff room with him, on the practice field with him. Drills. Like I know the guy really well. I don't think he wants to deal with NIL. I don't think he wants to deal with recruiting. I think that he lives in Nashville. He has a great job. I mean, they're not having a great year this year, but he's coach of the year in the NFL 2 years ago. So I mean, he's got a lot of cachet. Like if he got whacked by Tennessee, he'd have a job in about 3 minutes in the league, maybe potentially New England. But I just, outside of him, maybe Luke, but Luke wasn't great at Wisconsin this year, and Luke, he had a shot in 11 where he kind of, fell on the sword and took that, took a team that you had to start Joe Bauerman and a freshman Braxton Miller to 7 losses. So would they be better than Ryan? I don't think so. And again, Ryan and I have had our differences, but I think that if I'm running the show as the athletic director, the thing that I want is a guy who's a quarterback developer and is an offensive savant. I think that's the key to winning in modern football. More than defensive guys, you got to have a guy that can really develop the quarterback, and that's what Ryan's good at. Um, are there growing pains? Yeah, he didn't get to go to Bowling Green in Utah and kind of iron out some of those kinks. Like he has to do it, with the eye of Sauron watching him do everything he does. That's the hard part about when you get your first job at Ohio State. It's kind of like Marcus Freeman, his first job at Notre Dame. I mean, you've got 80 million people watching every game. You're there's nowhere to hide. Like you're not like some guy that was at some MAC school and nobody remembers when you screwed something up versus Toledo when you're coaching at Akron or whatever. Like, cause it's on ESPN, the Ocho on a Tuesday night or whatever. Like Ohio State, man, you lose a game, it is an avalanche coming down on your house and it crushes you and your family, and kids are mean to your kids at school. Like it's brutal, and that's the thing about when you're Ryan. But I think he's growing. I think he's getting better. We just decided a fantastic recruiting class. Again, I know everybody likes to cry and moan and we didn't get this guy or whatever, but I was like, I love the guys we got. And again, you got to remember a year ago, University of Southern California had Caleb Williams and they signed Malachi Nelson, and everyone thought Malachi Nelson was going to be the next Pat Mahomes. Oh my God, USC is going to be this dynasty. And a year later, he's gone in the portal. Like Lincoln Riley literally kicked him off campus to go get a senior who will have for 1 year, and Will Howard from Kansas State. So, if we would have signed Malachi last year, Ohio State would have, people would be like, oh my God, we're going to be so great. And then a year later, he's gone, so let these kids kind of flesh out their careers before you judge them. And, you put the scarlet letter on some of these kids, because some of these kids that you don't think can play will be great. And some of these guys that you think are going to be sure things are going to stink, like Malachi. Like Malachi's the number one player in the country. And his visits are like these crap schools right now, like for his portal visits. Got, another super chat. We're gonna knock these out real quick. B Clay all day. Appreciate you, my man. You're in here all the time, so appreciate you being a part of our show. Here we go. Okay, OSU minus 6.5. Bama minus 9.5. JMU money line. Shout out from New York, Ohio. I love New York. New York's great. Nevada, your thoughts on those lines? Because this is turning into like a little gambling show. I kind of like this.
Yeah, like the first two, don't know enough about the third one to make a judge. But I think Ohio State's going to win by 2 scores. I think Ohio State's going to win, by 10 to 14 points against Missouri, and I do think Alabama's going to violate Michigan. And I know a lot of smart people that think that as well. I don't think it's a good matchup for Michigan. I don't think it's a good matchup for Michigan, and I think a motivated Ohio State team's a bad matchup for Missouri. And so I think you'll have an edge on both those games. Don't know enough about the third game to make an opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Noonan 40, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, brother. Merry Christmas. This is a couple super chats from you, so thank you. Who do you think stays/leaves in 2024? I think burning the boats gets us some surprises. The only guy that I would wager significant money on is Marvin leaving. That's it. I think everyone else, there's a really good chance they're staying. So that'll shock the world. I think that these guys have big aspirations. And I think that kind of a quiet motivator for a lot of these guys like Jack Story, JT, is next year, if these guys all come back, we're going to be really, really good. And we're going to be in the playoff. There's not going to be this Cotton Bowl crap, bowl game. And we're going to be in the playoffs. So, if this team was in the playoffs, nobody wants to play these guys, I mean, we wouldn't be, maybe Alabama would be favored against us because they won the SEC. But I mean, if we beat Michigan and we're the number 1 seed, like we're favored versus every team we play. And maybe Alabama's a 3-point favorite versus us, but I don't know. Like I think if I'm a lot of these guys, and again, these guys didn't get the grades they were dreaming of. Like these guys were hoping to be first round picks, and a lot of the mock drafts preseason had these guys in the first round. And then by the end of the season, they weren't the first round anymore because a lot of these guys didn't have the years that people expected. So, I've talked to a bunch of them and I said, look, why don't you come back and dominate for a year? You're going to be a year older, you're going to be 22. And again, I've said this a million times, you guys get NIL money now. So again, it's not all or nothing. It's not like you have to live in poverty for another year and be a college kid. For now, you actually get some serious coin. You get a couple $100,000, $400,000 or $500,000 to save for another year. So you kind of get that to sock away, put it in your savings account. And then you get your signing bonus next year, you get to sock away. So again, it's not like the olden days. The olden days, it was like either you stay in poverty for another year, risk injury, or you go to the league and make money. But now it's like these guys aren't starving. These guys got nice cars. These guys go on nice trips. These guys got nice stuff, and God bless them. It's great because again, the money has gone bonkers in the last 10 years in college football. So kids should make a little bit of money. Nevada, who do you think stays loose? I think everyone's staying except for Marvin.
Yeah, I mean, Emeka's an interesting one because Emeka graduated in 3 years, and that was an interesting kind of, that was something you don't see a lot from college football players, guys that go in
No.
there and graduate in 3 years, and he did that. And so, you never know with him, but again, as shocking as this sounds, I mean, like I said, I would have thought when we first started this thing off that they were all leaving, that it was basically a mass exodus, and that we were going, to start over in 2024. But it doesn't look that way. Like as you said, Marvin's the only one. A Mech I'd keep an eye on, but I think everybody else is really leaning, strongly towards coming back. Now, maybe a strong performance at the Cotton Bowl changes that, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, like Paris was able to go. Like, here's the thing about graduating in 3 years. That's the right thing to do if you're these kids. It's a smart thing to do because again, you got to remember these kids go to summer school and they have online classes, so it's way easier to do now than it was before. Because like if you just go full time in the summer, if you just add it up and you have 2 semesters times 4, if you go basically 3 semesters, I mean, it's basically the same amount of time. You might have to load up your final semester to get it done, but I think it's smart because now Emeka can start his master's degree, plow through a bunch of that. And then he could potentially have his master's degree done in a year and a half. I mean, I got my MBA in a year and a half from Ohio State, and that was like warp speed. I mean, that was, huge hours and a lot of work, but I did it while I was a GA with Urban, and it's the best thing ever to never have to go to class again and never do homework again. So, if he wants to get that MBA done, it'd be great. D Sunny, this is a great question. D Sunny, you bring maybe the best questions on the entire show. So I appreciate you, my man. You're a huge support of us. Thank you for being in here. Merry Christmas. Thank you for the 5. Kirk, how did the team feel when you were going into the LSU championship game? I think when we were up 10, Robisky dropped a TD that hurt. Yes, that did kind of hurt. Thank you for turning the knife in my heart again. I honestly felt really good about that game. I felt going into it because again, you got to remember we got absolutely violated by the Florida Gators by Urban the year before, and that was tough because we lost a lot of guys. We lost Troy, Gonzo, Teddy, Pittman, Quinn Pitcock. Like a lot of seniors moved on. We lost a lot of juniors. With Pitt, Ted, and Gonzo all declared. Obviously the 2 receivers went first round. Pitt went like third round. So that was tough. I mean, we were picked to be third in the Big Ten. Again, that was my senior year. I was a captain that year, and I was the exorcist. I mean, I mean, there aren't many guys that are my friends because of how nasty I was that year towards a lot of guys. Because like I was like, look, I ain't going through that again. I mean, we might get ran, but we ain't gonna get ran like that. And again, we lost that Illinois game, and I was beside myself, angry, because I felt like the team lost focus. Again, a lot of these times when you lose, especially when you lose a bowl game, it's a lack of focus. Or when these teams lose to teams they shouldn't lose to coming down the stretch, it's a lack of focus. So, we had to get the train back on the tracks after Caps, tipped over at the Illinois, and then we had to go play Michigan. And, Michigan had Jake Long and Hart and Henny, and it was their senior day, and it was like the biggest game ever for them. So, we had to rally the troops. But getting ready for LSU, it was a weird deal because, they had 2 losses. They lost to Arkansas late in the season when they had, they had McFadden. They ran that Wildcat with McFadden, Felix Jones, Peyton Hillis. I mean, it was unbelievable watching that game. I watched that film a ton. But we knew they were the best team in the country. I mean, they had a couple losses, but their quarterback played in the league for like 10 years. They had Glenn Dorsey, who was like the guy that won every award. Tyson Jackson, the guy that I blocked all game, was the 3rd overall pick in the draft. So I mean, they had 2 top 5 picks on their D line, which is pretty good. But I felt we were ready. I felt like we were in good shape. I hated that we had to play them in Louisiana because I'm like, well, how is that fair that we have to play LSU in New Orleans? Like that should be illegal, but this is it is what it was. And, we started off hot. We were winning 10-0 at the end of the first. And then, when you play a team with equal talent, you can't make mistakes. You can't. And we made some of, Austin Spittler roughed the punter. I'm not blaming Austin, but I mean, you roughed the punter on 4th and 22 when we're about to get the ball back and cut the game to 7. It kills you. We dropped a touchdown pass. We had personal fouls. We had a really stupid false start. We were on the 1-yard line about to run it in, and go up 17, and we false start. So we got to go back, and Then we missed the field. The field goal gets blocked. Again, we look like you know um, just clowns. Like when you do dumb stuff, when you get a field goal blocked, like you're an idiot, you're a clown. And I'll never forget that because I was furious because I'm like, we get all the way down there, and you need every inch against a team like LSU in a championship game, and you can't rough a punter. We had 5 personal fouls in that game. I'll never forget. I was like, how do we have 5 personal fouls? Like dumb personal fouls. Those are automatic first downs. Those are killers. But I felt like we were ready. Like, again, the thing about that team is we overachieved. So, like, when you're a captain of a team or a leader of a team in some capacity in life, the best compliment you can get is that you overachieved. Like, you did more than people thought you could do. You rallied the troops. You kind of spruced it up and made it as good as we could be, because we weren't real good. Like, I thought that '08 team was the team that was going to win the championship because everybody was back except for me, and Vernon Golson. They had like 20 starters back, and they lost to SC in week 2. And I didn't, and they had James and Malcolm, but I didn't think they had a lot of leadership on offense. It was kind of hard because Todd Beckman was the captain, got benched for Terrell. But I felt like in '07, like we fought, like we at least fought LSU. Now we did a lot of stupid stuff. We did a lot of stuff that cost us the game and cost us the national championship. Because again, if I'd have won that one, I don't know if anyone could ever told me anything, because I was so excited for that game. I couldn't wait to play those guys. Redemption after losing to Florida. And, it still sucks to this day that we didn't win that national championship, because that was the one. And to beat an SEC team in Louisiana would have been amazing. And after the first quarter, we were up. And then, you just can't make mistakes versus equal talent. Got a ton of super chats here. I'm going to get through a few of these before we get to reason number 2. Larry Daniels, thank you for the 5, brother. Appreciate you. Jan is usually under the microscope, but how many times have we lost when we're the favorite by odds? That is a great point. I think you meant Ryan there. Ryan is usually under the microscope. Nevada, since Ryan's been here in 19, how many times have we lost as a favorite? I mean, I can't remember very many.
Well, we haven't lost many games, period.
Yeah.
So it's really been, again, Ohio State's record as an underdog is pretty gaudy, but our record as a favorite is pretty gaudy too. So I think, these are generally good spots for, I think when Ohio State is being underestimated, I think that's generally a good spot for Ohio State. And that's been tried and true for, 30 years. They've generally outperformed expectations, whether that means they won, whether that means they covered. But they typically show up in those situations. And I think Ohio State's definitely going to show up on the 29th. And I think it's going to be a surprise. But I think the consensus of people out there in the public was that Ohio State's just going to sleepwalk through this. This is going to be a Liberty Bowl versus Navy or Air Force or whatever. I can't even remember. I blocked it on my mind when we lost to the Service Academy, and then our recruiting class is falling apart, and everything's gone to heck at Ohio State, and we're all, Michigan's in our head, and they broke us, and blah blah blah. And it's exactly the opposite. I mean, we're getting better. The team's coming together. There's more talent incoming, and Michigan's about to get nuked into the nuclear winter. So, look, these are great times to be an Ohio State fan. Exciting times with a 12-team playoff looming, and Ohio State's going to show up on the 29th. I'm telling you, they're going to play well. Hold me to that.
I totally agree. I'm going to get through the last of these. We'll do our last 2 reasons. Dub V, Buckeye, West Virginia. Buckeye, appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the 10. Merry Christmas to Kirk and Nevada from West Virginia. Appreciate you, my man, as always. Thank you for always being on here. Merry Christmas to you and your family. I hope you guys have a great Christmas together. Thanks for always being a part of this show. Again, we love kicking with you guys. I don't know if it's Davin or Devon Johnson. I hope I said it both ways, so let me know what way it is phonetically if you could in the chat. Thanks for the deuce. Merry Christmas. Anything on Trey coming back? Well, I'll tell you what, man. Evan Pryor and Chip took off, and if I'm Chip, man, Chip be the number 1 running back if he had came back. It would have been the Chip and Dallin Hayden show with a little sprinkle of James Peoples, but those guys bolted. Chip got some money from Kentucky. Evan went to Cincinnati. So I think that those guys know what we suspected, and that's Trey's coming back. Your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Well, don't forget Mayan. Mayan left as well. So
yeah.
So I mean, like, they've kind of cleaned out the running back room. All we can tell you is the word around the Woody Hayes. The word around the Woody Hayes, Trey's returning. That's what I can tell you. As crazy as that sounds, as crazy as it sounds to Kirk, as crazy as it sounds to Nevada, that's the word. And by his actions in the bowl, He's practicing like he's coming back. They're playing him like he's coming back. And so I'm starting to come around to the idea that, as crazy as it sounds, that he might be coming back, but that is definitely the word.
Yeah, I mean, and we've had guys. He's a guy that, if he comes back, he's preseason All American. He's got a chance to win the Doak Walker. He's got, a chance to be a captain. I mean, he would be a captain. So there's a lot of good things to coming back. And honestly, I think he has to have a year where he's is as clean as possible from an injury history. I mean, 'cause he's had these nagging injuries the last 2 years, and that's his probably the biggest ding on his scouting report is his durability. But if he comes back and is a horse for a year and is the X factor in our offense, which he can be, because I think he's the best player on our offense this year, even better than Marvin. He's definitely the most valuable guy because when he's not in there, our offense looks way different than when he's in there. We could lose Marvin. We still have Mecca and Carnell and those guys. And I'm not denigrating Marvin. I think Marvin's fantastic, but I think Trey's more valuable. So, a full year of him at full capacity would be very scary. And it would really help us when we go up to Alton and play the Oregon Ducks. Drew Dozer, the Prophet, thanks for the deuce. Appreciate you, my man. Everyone say hi to John. Hello, John. I hope you guys are enjoying the show. Thank you, my man. Dave Rice, thank you for the 5. Thoughts on Georgia Tech last night / this season and their head coach. I like their physicality and toughness. Also in the LSU title game, OSU missed a block punt. I know that was where Spittler roughed the punter. He literally he came in to block it with his arms like this, and he could have taken it off the guy's foot. Again, I hate to revisit that, but man, we were down 14 and we had all the momentum. And if we block that punt, man, it's a 7-point game, and we were we had all the momentum at that point, but. Then you're off the punter on 4th and 22, and the momentum, it just dies. Nevada, I did not see anything on Georgia Tech last night this season and their head coach. Is there anything significant that happened, or did you notice anything?
Well, yeah, I like Georgia Tech. I mean, it's funny because Georgia Tech's kind of an interesting program. Georgia Tech, when you talk about potential entrance to the Big Ten, Georgia Tech is generally somebody that's kind of left off the list, because, they're not the top football brand that, they're not the football brand that a Florida State is or that a Miami is. They're not an academic powerhouse and brand like North Carolina. But Georgia Tech is interesting because they play great football as they have most of this year. And what a great academic institution and access to the Atlanta market. And so there's a lot about Georgia Tech that makes a lot of sense, especially if you're talking about the race to 24 teams. Because I'm telling you, we've been saying this. Look, it's going to take a while, but ultimately what you're going to come down to is 2 super conferences, 24 teams in each conference, 24 teams in the NFC called the Big Ten, and 24 teams in the AFC called the SEC. And that's what you're going to play for. It's going to be a Super Bowl type of setup. And when you're going to 24 teams, man, does Georgia Tech make sense? To me, they do. I mean, if you added North Carolina and Florida State and Miami and Georgia Tech and UVA and Notre Dame, it'd be a pretty good. We'd be coast to coast, top to bottom, cover the entire country, and that'd be a heck of a football conference.
Yeah, and again, you got to remember, a lot of these moves are what televisions can we grab for our next network deal. That's why we went after Rutgers, get that New York market. Again, that's why sometimes you look at them why are we grabbing this team? They suck, they stink, they suck at basketball, they suck at football, like Rutgers. But we got the New York market, the New Jersey market. So you can get in that Atlanta market now. That's deep in SEC territory. And it kind of screws the SEC a little bit because now all of a sudden you're going to have all these TVs tuned into Big Ten football that are traditionally, they're on ACC network, SEC network, whatever. So that's kind of the category. Again, one of the famous things that, we'd heard was, talks about adding University of Toronto. And again, that sounds crazy. It sounds stupid. Why would you ever, their football's not good, whatever. But I'm you'd add every television in Canada to the Big Ten. So again, it's not just some binary, oh, we have to get every good football team. It's no, how many TVs would we add? What would the interest be? Because I thought that was a fascinating one. Because dude, Toronto is an awesome city, and I would love to go there. But their football obviously isn't Big Ten caliber yet. But we got Northwestern in our conference, and they stink too. So I don't know. I just think that you guys have to look at it through the lens that, the highest level people that are pulling the strings in the Big Ten do, where, hey, how much money would this team bring to the table? Like, obviously, there's a lot that are easy. Like Notre Dame would be like it's like adding Boardwalk to your Monopoly portfolio. But some of these are like sneaky good. Like Georgia Tech would be a sneaky great ad because then you get into that Atlanta market. You get there's a bunch of new TVs that are going to be watching Big Ten football that have been traditionally dominated by the ACC and the SEC. So again, think of it from that view. It's not just purely who are the best football teams, and what are it's about how much money can the Big Ten make from adding people. Eric Peterson, thank you for the 20. Appreciate you, brother. NIL can have some advantages to keep some non-first round picks home. I totally agree, but I do think it would help for the NCAA to put a cap on NIL either per player or per team to distribute it. Or is it better wide open? Semper Fi. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for your service as always. I don't think a cap helps anything because I think that the way it is now, they have to figure out some way to regulate it or have the universities control it or whatever. But I like that it's not capped because then everybody can cheat basically, or like cheat like Bagman. The Bagmans are all out in the open now. You don't have to do it in the shroud of darkness. You can do whatever you want now. So I love it like that because it evens the playing field for schools like Ohio State that don't cheat or don't want to cheat. Because that's all out in the open. It's negotiated with agents. There's contracts. There's, and again, like if you're gonna negotiate deals and it's funny money and the deals fall through, then that gets out there too. So I like how it is. I mean, does there need to be some regulation? Does there need to be some scrutiny of some of the collectives? Does there need to be, maybe a record of contracts and say, okay, these ones fell through, these ones are fuddy-duddy and whatever. I don't know what the answer is, but I don't think capping it will do anything because teams are always going to cheat, and the thing about NIL is it kind of put it all out in the open or you don't have to cheat anymore. Everybody can be a bag man. Your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Well, look, there's some legal realities of, it's one thing to talk about a cap. The reality is that the only way that a cap is legal in these United States is when it's negotiated in a good faith negotiation between labor and management, which then puts the fact that the agents have got to be represented by a union. Yeah. It's good because it's got to be collectively bargained. So because otherwise it's restraint of trade, it's collusion, and yep. Teams get the schools will get whacked for artificially putting a cap and restricting the earnings of these the college football players. So now some legal ramifications to that. So I'm not sure that's realistic.
Yeah, I agree. I think and the thing that the schools are avoiding like the plague is making these guys employees because then you got to pay workers comp, and some of these guys they get a debilitating injury and they file a workers comp claim. You're going to be paying them for 40 years. Some of these, I had a guy, Tyson Gentry, great kid, got paralyzed, like totally paralyzed, and he's Ohio State would be on the hook for that forever if these guys were employees. It's a different world. Drew does to the Prophet. Thank you for the deuce. Bring back the WWE champ, Kirk. I love that belt, man. I got that UFC belt. That thing is freaking awesome. I got that for Christmas a couple of years ago. My old lady, she does kind of like something funny to get me. And she's like, I'm going to get you the belt. And I was like, that's great. That's the old one, too. I like the old one better than the new one. So I appreciate you, brother. Todd Doyle, thank you for the 10. If most of the players return, I hope Ryan doesn't waste their efforts in non-conference games and blowouts and gets experience for the younger players. Praise God. That is one of my biggest criticisms of Ryan is that we don't pull the starters earlier. I know that he's obsessed with stats and padding stats and all that stuff that doesn't really matter, but I really think you have to get the young guys in the game earlier because a lot of these guys, like our center this year, Carson Hinsman, he didn't play a single snap at center the year before, so he was completely green coming into these games, and I'm like, dude, there were games where we're up by 40 points, and I'm like, why are the starters still in? Why are we risking a guy getting hurt? Or like the game where Kyle McCord was throwing when we're up 30 right before halftime, and he about gets his leg blown out. I think Ryan is obsessed with stats. Urban was obsessed with stats too, and sometimes it just doesn't make sense to me. I'm telling you, when I played, I used to say, let's get a 28-point lead and get me out of this game. Let's get up 35-7 in the fourth quarter, get me out of the game. Go let these other guys play. Because it's not that I didn't want to finish the game, but I'm like, dude, these young guys need to play. These practice reps are one thing. Getting out there in the game and having to block another opponent and get some experience under your belt is really important. And so I tell Jim Bolman, I'm like, dude, like we're up 28, get me out. Go get these young guys in there because they got to go play, man. I mean, they can't just stand there and watch and hope to be good one day. They got to go actually put it on film because then they got to watch film the next day. When we're sitting there with the O line group and they're going to get graded, and they can look at their grade and say, oh man, I was only at 48%. I sucked, and it's because you don't grade like everything in practice. They do now, but they didn't back in the day. So, it was always good to get those guys some burn. Your thoughts, Nevada, on it, getting the younger players into the game earlier?
Well, an underrated point, and you know this better than anybody from having played and coached, is nothing juices up the team more than when the backups have got a chance to play a
Oh yeah,
lot in the game. I mean, it changes the whole feeling in the locker room, then the practice room, and everything. Because if all you do is practice and you just go out and go out and go out, and then you never play, it just
oh,
you're just it just
the
bums you
worst,
out.
the
It's the
worst.
worst.
Yeah,
And so when you get a chance to go in there, you make a play, you get a sack, you make a great block, you score a touchdown. Man, it's infectious for a team, and I think it's one area where Ryan really shows himself as a young coach. We have to remember, as you mentioned earlier in the show, he didn't cut his teeth somewhere else. He didn't get a chance to coach. I mean, his first coaching job, head coaching job, was at Ohio State, and so a lot of these little things, clock management, using of players, a lot of little things that, like you said, that you're able to kind of figure out at smaller schools. He's having to figure out here, and so we're kind of watching it in real time as he's kind of going through it. But no, you're playing younger guys, especially like I said. I mean, last year we literally had 50-point leads and had C.J. Stroud out there in the fourth quarter throwing, and I'll never understand that. It makes absolutely no sense to me. And hopefully it's something that Ryan learns from and is better about.
yeah, and like if you look at like C.J. Stroud's stats versus your Troy Smith won the Heisman, like his now it's a much different game. It's a much more throw heavy game than it was '06. But Troy didn't play in the fourth quarter of at least 7 or 8 of the games. I mean, we had the towels over the heads and chilling, figuring out where we're gonna have our first cocktail out that night, and yeah, so we weren't we went undefeated. Like if you go undefeated, you're going the Heisman. Like you don't need to have 8 million yards and sets. It helps, but winning is everything. And I think developing the culture of getting guys in, because again, like my in '03, my first year, my freshman year, I redshirted, and this is back when you couldn't play a single play without burning a red shirt. So every week I knew I wasn't going to play, and every week it sucked, and every week I was like miserable. I hated it because I was out there and I knew that there was no chance I was going to get into the game. So a lot of these guys that are backups, like their parents fly in from Florida and California and Colorado and Texas and Georgia, and like they spend all this money and they don't even get to see their kid play in the game. And again, I'm not saying that like they deserve it, because you have to earn the right to get reps at Ohio State. You have to earn that. But if we're up by 35 points, man, get them, like let these kids go out and play a little bit and feel good after the game. Hey, I got in the game. Hey, let the mom take the photo of their kid running out on the game. Like I'll never forget this. And again, I probably told the story before, but we had a walk on named Dr. Ebner, and he was a really nice kid, great kid. I used to go against him in practice. He was my backup's backup, so he was like third string right tackle, whatever. Really nice kid. And I remember we were playing Northwestern, and we were beating him like 59-7 my senior year. And I remember like we'd pulled the starters, and I mean and we got pulled in like the third quarter. I mean, this was like a blowout. And I remember I went to Jim Bowman and I said, "Look," and I talked. I actually went to Truss, and I literally, because Bowles was he was upstairs. And I went to Truss. I was like, "Can you please put Dr. in for one play? He's never played in a game. He's a senior. He's a nice kid. I know that you want to develop your young guys, but I was like, will you please put him in for one play? Just put him at right tackle and just run to the left. So he won't. Again, he wasn't a great player. Really, really great kid. Has a great family now. And so Bowles and Tress literally tells Bowles, he's like, can we put Dr. in for a game? Bart, the captain, is asking if we can put the kid in for a game. And I was like, not kid, he's my age. So we put him in for one. He runs on the field, we run to the left. He runs right off the field, and then the tackle and he was like so happy and smiles and all that. And it's like one stupid, meaningless play. And I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, thank you, Coach Tress. I appreciate you letting the kid play. Because there's some guys that are walk-ons at Ohio State that play one play their whole career. And I played thousands of plays over starting for 4 years. And I remember we had our banquet, like our year-end banquet or whatever, and his parents came up to me and they said DR told that story and said that was the nicest thing that anybody ever could have done for us, was to actually see our son play one play in the horseshoe. And like I didn't think anything of it because we're winning by 59 points. Like I wouldn't even want to be in the game at that point. But he wanted to get in, and it was like it was cool because again, you know, you just want to get at least one play, man. You don't want to be the guy that gets his whole career and plays 0 snaps. And there's guys that do that. There's guys that walk on at Ohio State, they never play a single snap ever. And so that's, you just want to get in there and say, hey, I played in the shoe as a Buckeye and I got the photo and there's film of it and whatever. So that was my diatribe. But again, I think Ryan needs to get those young guys in. A couple more super chats and we'll get to our last 2 answers. SEC pod, Mizo, not motivated. OSU, not serious. I don't know. I mean, I think anyone that thinks OSU isn't taking this game serious is crazy. I mean, dude, like we've got a quarterback who's never started a game here, starting his first game, and if he balls out, he's going to make $1 million in NIL money. Like again, if you're motivated by, whatever it takes to motivate you, if it's your family, NIL money, locking out a starting position, climbing the depth chart, guys, when you're playing in these games, you're going to be motivated. And again, and there's a lot of these guys, if they ball out, they could jump to the draft. They could. A lot of these guys, they need this game. They got to have a big showing. And, you don't want to go out like a wet fart. Like you want to go out like guns blazing, ready for whatever. And that's the thing is like, when you step on the field at Ohio State, man, you're playing an SEC team, you're going to be motivated. I promise you. Your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Yeah, I mean for Devin, it's everything. And this game is life, death, his future, the NFL, everything he's ever wanted, the reason he came to Ohio State. Um, I mean, it's everything to him. So I can tell you one guy who's going to be super motivated. And look, I've seen unmotivated Ohio State teams,
Yeah.
and I've bet against unmotivated Ohio State teams in the bowl because the bowl games are all about who wants to be there and who doesn't want to be there. And I'm just telling you, Ohio State's juice for this one. They're going to play better than you think. And if you're betting against Ohio State, because you may bet against Ohio State because you think Missouri's a better matchup, or Missouri's a tougher conference, or Missouri's a better team at the end of the year, whatever, all those reasons. But if you're betting against Ohio State because you think Ohio State's not motivated for this game, that's a bad read because Ohio State's motivated. They're as motivated for a non-playoff game as you could possibly be, and that's a tribute to Ryan Day. That's a tribute to these players, and everybody's going to see it on the 29th. I'm just telling you.
And again, I've been around teams that I knew we were in trouble. Like we played that 2011 year, which was the worst year in school history. We lost. Truss gets fired. Terrell gets kicked off the team. 7 losses. We played the Florida Gators in the stupid Tax Slayer Bowl in Jacksonville. And you got to remember, Urban Meyer got announced as the head coach the week after Michigan. So, we're down there with with Luke Fickell and, 6 or 7 coaches were literally fired after the game. Like, I mean, like not fired. They just weren't renewed. They were gone. So, how motivated is that team and that coaching staff when they're all looking for jobs? They're all, I'm sitting in the staff rooms and they're leaving the staff rooms on their phones, talking to their agents, talking to coaches, interviewing for new jobs. I mean, that was the one where I was like, this is not going to be good. Florida, it was their first year with Will Muschamp. So they, it was in Florida. We got jobbed on it. I'll never forget the officiating call where they said Boom Heron fumbled and his butt was literally on the ground and his arms were wrapped around the ball and then they ripped it out. And I'm like, he's down. And they still called it a fumble. But like that was the year the seniors didn't want to be there. We didn't want to play in the game. We never should have played in that game. Like that should have been take the bowl ban, delete that year from the record, get these coaches out here. Because, these coaches are cleaning their offices out literally the last day that we're all together before we went home for Christmas. Like they're cleaning their offices out. Like Jim Bowman, like I helped him clean his office out and throw stuff away. And because Ed Warner was coming to that office like that. So that is what an unmotivated team looks like. When you have like a fired staff or some of these teams you see, the coach moves on or the coach gets fired and you've got a bunch of GAs coaching and you got a wide receiver coach as the head coach or whatever. Like those are the ones where, that's going to be a bludgeoning. This team, no chance. I mean, I'm telling you, these guys are a guy like Cardinal Tate, like Julian Fleming is out of the picture now. Cardinal Tate gets to make his first career start in a bowl game and he's got a lot of chemistry with Devin Brown. He's about to go absolutely bananas. The OSU state of mind. Thanks for the deuce. If you have a question, toss it in there. I'll look for it. D Sunny, again, thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Thanks for the 5. Have you ever seen a younger player that you thought couldn't play or wouldn't be good, but then they became a baller? I mean, I hate to do this, but man, I mean, Cardell was a guy that he was all over the place when he first got there. You got to remember, Cardell, the thing people don't realize with Cardell is Cardell was the same age as Braxton. They're in the same recruiting class, but Tress and Ted Ginn decided to send Cardell to military school for a year at Hargrave Academy to get a year of separation between him and Braxton. Because we had the 2 quarterbacks in the same class. So we got a year of separation between him and Braxton. And then he redshirted. So it was kind of like he had 2 years of separation. So, Braxton, his last year was supposed to be 15, and Cardell went pro after 15 because, Braxton, he hurt his shoulder and he had to redshirt in 14. But Cardell's a guy that, when you first saw him, you saw the talent, but he was just such a goofy, like in the head, because he was young. He was immature. He'd be the first guy to tell you that. And, you saw what he did to Alabama and Oregon and down the stretch and played a bunch of years in the NFL. Like, I mean, Cardell's probably one for sure. I mean, I thought Mike Thomas had a chance, but Mike Thomas, when he first got there, he was 3. Again, that's why a lot of you guys that get all upset because we get 3-star guy safeties and players like Mike Thomas. Nobody wanted Mike Thomas. He was a 3-star guy. I mean, he wasn't real good when he got there. I mean, he redshirted as a sophomore. And then he had the greatest season in NFL history for a wide receiver. So, there's 2 prime examples. Nevada, I don't. You probably didn't see him like in person. Maybe back in the day. When you come to practice, was there ever a young guy that you thought couldn't play and he turned into a baller?
Carlos Hyde. I mean, Carlos
That's a
Hyde
great
was.
one. That's a great one.
I mean, Carlos Hyde was. I mean, he had. I mean, Meyer, you were there. Meyer wanted to run him. Meyer wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that guy was. I mean, he had a terrible attitude, no vision, just
Fat.
a kid that
Fat.
Meyer wanted him off the team, and the guy goes turns himself into just the god of thunder, and ends up playing in the NFL. What did he play in the NFL? 9 years, 7 years, or something crazy like that. So. Yeah, I mean, amazing story. Carlos Hyde's one of my all-time favorites from that standpoint because he was just so low regard. I mean, like I said, Urban Meyer literally wanted him off the team, and you put the challenge out to him. The kid responded and balled out. I love stories like that. So he's always got a warm place in my heart.
And Carlos is a guy, because there were some guys like they did like a complete 180 when they went from the Jim Tressel staff to the Urban Meyer staff. Because like if he has Jim Tressel and Doc Tressel and our old strength coach, like I don't know if he becomes what he turned into with Urban and Stan Drayton and Mickey Marotti, because like Urban had his foot so far up Carlos's butt, and then he had Stan's foot up there too, that Carlos didn't have a choice except to be great and to get in shape and to get his footwork better. And like, I mean, I used to see it. I mean, our 6 a.m. practices, man. I mean, they turned that kid into an absolute werewolf. I mean, he was a moody, grumpy, despondent, complained about everything. He wasn't like the kind of kid that had like the energy that you really wanted in a team. And then he turned into a monster. Like, go look up his stats in like 2013. Was probably the best rushing team maybe the best rushing team in Ohio State history when we had Braxton at his full capacity and Carlos, and we averaged like 6.5 yards a carry, which is astounding for the entire season. 6.5 yards a carry. Every 2 touches was a first down. That's how good we were at running the ball. That's when we were at the peak of the Urban spread with Braxton running it with Carlos, read option. I mean, it was terrifying. It was like the really good Florida teams. Well, I think I'll get to the number 2 reason why we're going to beat Missouri is going to be Devin Brown. I just think that, we've talked to a lot of people the last 3 days. The kids are home kind of talking about everything that's been going on at bowl practice. And, like there's a lot of stuff going on, and Devin Brown's been really, really, really sharp. So, I think that, I don't think that the burn the boats thing is bluster. I think he literally is like, bring it on. You guys want to bring in Malik Murphy? You guys want to bring in Cam Ward? You guys want to bring in all these whoever's? Like, I'm here. I know the offense. It's my job. No one's going to take it from me. And I love that mentality. Again, I wish Kyle McCord had that mentality, because Kyle should have stayed and fought it out and, if he gets beat out, fine. I mean, he'd probably get drafted higher, learning from Ryan Day as a backup next year than he would have, going to Syracuse and getting. I mean, he's going to get sacked 80 times next year. So I mean, he went to a program that's in the doldrums, and he left a rocket ship of an offense that Ohio State has. And I think Devin, like these guys are offering $2 million to Cam Ward a few weeks ago, and they're offering $1 million to Will Howard. And if Devin balls out, like that's going to be his money. I mean, he's going to be getting the NIL deals. He's going to be the face of the program. If you're the starting quarterback at Ohio State, it's literally like a 7-figure deal, between sponsorships, NIL deals, collectives, whatever. So again, these guys have so much at stake now because literally, if you ball out in this game and you win and you get that great feeling around Columbus, because winning a bowl game, there's nothing better than winning a big bowl game. Like when we beat Notre Dame in 2005, we got to ride that wave for like literally 9 months. People love that game. They still talk about that game. The AJ Hawk stuff with Laura and Brady and and us as people hated Charlie Weiss and they hated Brady Quinn, and we just shredded them. I mean, we threw it over their heads nonstop, crushed them in the running game. People love that, and they talked about that for 9 months. It was this jubilation because it was such a fun game, because we were so fast and explosive, and AJ Hawk balled out, and our defense was great, and like winning a bowl game is really really fun, especially when it's a big bowl game. It's memorable. People love talking about that. What's the number one reason why we're going to win the Cotton Bowl, Nevada?
Number one reason is because this is an emphasis game for Ryan Day. Bowl games either fall into one of two categories. They're development games, they're audition games, they're tryout games for the coaches, for the players, for the staff, I think, or they're emphasis games. And this is an emphasis game. Ryan Day wants this game really badly. And so as a result of that, he's leaning on guys to play in it, to prepare for it. He's preparing for it like it is a big, big game for Ohio State. And that's been communicated to all the players. They know that. And that was really the biggest thing that I was looking for through this whole bowl prep was how will Ryan Day approach this game? Will he approach this game like, hey, this is a kind of a reward for what we did, and let's just kind of see. We'll throw some guys out there and we'll see. No, he's game planning this like it's their Super Bowl. They're approaching it like it's their Super Bowl, and for a lot of guys, it is their Super Bowl. And I think we'll see the best Ryan Day. I think we'll see loose Ryan. Because he doesn't have the pressure of expectations of a playoff game, doesn't have the pressure of expectations of playing up in Ann Arbor, and I think Loose Ryan is a great version of Ryan, and with all those things combined, I think it's the number one reason why Ohio State wins the game.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Ryan's got, I mean, you get the hard part about you lose that Michigan game, man, is you miss the Big Ten championship, and you basically get lashed for like 5 straight weeks until you get to play a bowl game. So I mean, I think he's going to be ferocious. I think that, he's got a lot of momentum. I mean, getting Edric Houston locked in, getting JJ locked in, a lot of momentum on the recruiting trail. Like I think that Ryan's going to be ready to roll. And I think he knows he's got a really, really good team coming back. I think he knows that Michigan's going to hit with the nuclear bomb in March. So I don't know. Like, I think this is going to be one of those vintage performances by the team. Again, I like that the offensive line is all together. And really we lose Matt, and that's it. Everybody else is going to be, so we're going to have 4 guys back in the O-line. We're going to have our quarterback back with Devin Brown. Our receivers are going to be amazing. Adding JJ Smith. I mean, I don't think you guys realize how good JJ Smith is, but get ready, buckle up, because he is that dude. So I think we'll wrap this thing up, Nevada. Any final thoughts? Appreciate you guys kicking it with us. We might do one tonight. We'll definitely do one tomorrow. But your thoughts as we wrap the show up.
Well, final thought. This is, look, Nevada Bucks, we're here to educate you guys. We're here to entertain. But I'm going to give you a movie review. Okay, I went to see Napoleon last night. Bad movie, man.
Is it really?
2.5 hours of my life I will never get back, and I love that stuff.
Bad?
I'm like, bad movie.
No
bad
way.
Movie.
Ridley Scott?
Ridley Scott, Joaquin Phoenix.
Wow.
Not a good movie. Not a good movie. I'm just telling you. If you wonder why, you're like, wow, why am I not hearing reviews about that? Why is that movie only in one screen at my local cinema, wherever it is?
Oh yeah.
It's because it's bad. So spare yourself. You can take time and see some.
He went to mute. It was so bad that Nevada went to mute. think he accidentally hit on this cheek. He'll come back in here. Jason Curtis, thanks for the 5. Appreciate it, man. Is Jim Harbaugh going to be able to escape? That'll be interesting because I think that that's what he's trying to do. I think that for the Bears, as Nevada Buck rings back in, got a super chat, Nevada. $5. Appreciate you. Then you can finish your rant on the pull-in. Is Jim Harbaugh going to be able to escape with the NFL or to the NFL? And do you think they'll actually do something if he's suspended? I think they will because the precedence is Jim Tressel. He got suspended, and then he had like a 9-game suspension with the Colts. Your thoughts, Nevada?
Oh no, it's going to follow. That's the big thing that he's, that the agents are all talking about is that this is the big. I mean, because everybody's like, oh, Harbaugh goes to the Bears, oh, Harbaugh goes to the Chargers, and that's great. But what happens when this thing pummels him? What impact is that going to have on the Chargers or the Bears? And that's all in the mix, man. So, the precedent's been set. They've already said. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Goodell has said the stuff that goes from college is going to follow you to the NFL, and so I think I won't say it's without precedent, but it's a weird situation, and it's one that the NFL teams are having to weigh very carefully, because I'm just telling you, Harbaugh is going to get hammered. He's got 2 simultaneous level 1 infraction things in front of the NCAA. Both involve lack of candor and lying to the NCAA, on top of cheating, competitive advantage, everything else that they've been doing, and that 2 at the same time, no boy. Look what happened to Jim Tressel for being less than candid about whether or not he saw an email. That Harbaugh's flat out lied to these guys on both occasions. So no, he's in deep trouble.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's going to be ugly. Do you have anything else on your rant on Napoleon as we wrap this thing up?
No, just I love going to the movies around the holidays. I love it. It's my my greatest memories are going to see the Hobbit movies when they were all coming out every year. They'd put them out around Christmas and so. And so I was so excited to go see movies, and Napoleon sucked, man. And I'm like, so it was so bad, and I'm mad at myself for not going and seeing something else. But I don't know what else I was going to see. If anybody's got any movie suggestions for Nevada, put them in the chat as well, because I'm in the market to go see something good. I just want something not to suck and entertain me. And I don't mind if it's funny. I don't mind if it's serious. I don't mind if it's animated. I don't mind if it's not. But Napoleon did not deliver for me. And I'm a history buff. I'm a student of war and all that stuff. And man, that movie was bad movie.
I mean, that was what I actually wanted to see. I've been looking to buy it. I'm glad you said that, because like Ridley Scott usually is money. I mean, Gladiator, fantastic flick.
Come on, he's fantastic. I mean, he's fantastic, but no, that sucked, man. It sucked.
That is so funny. I got another super chat. Coconut Dreams. I love that, Ave. Yeah, I don't know where that is. It was beautiful. Thanks for the 10. Appreciate you. Merry Christmas, my friend. Like the world's most interesting man always says, I don't always root for Bama to win, but when I do, it's always for them to put a woodshed beating on scum. Stay salty, my friends. Hashtag Rose Bowl. I can't agree. I can't agree more, man. I here's the thing. It looks like Cam Martinez committed to Boston College. Congrats to Cam. Boston College is really bad. But Halfway's there, so that makes sense. I agree. I mean, here's the thing. I love Alabama. I love everything about what they do in their program. I love Nick Saban. I love how he carries himself. I love how their team acts. Like, they don't talk to the other team. They don't talk trash. Like, Nick Saban's like very, he runs the program better than anybody in the history of college football. So I'm really excited that I get to root for my second favorite team against Michigan, just because I like how Nick Saban handles his business. Nevada, are you excited for the woodshed beating? And a reminder, we're going to have a watch party, guys. We've never done it before, and it is going to be absolutely a blast. So I hope you guys tune in. Simultaneously, as you're watching the game, you're watching me and Nevada react to it. Your thoughts on that game, Nevada?
Yeah, I mean, that clearly is the second most exciting game to me in the entire bowl season, other than the Ohio State game. And no, I look, people don't like Saban. People don't like Alabama. I like him. I admire him. I like the fact. Yeah. I mean, I just admire the way that they, skirt the rules. Whether it be, I mean, they were the first team to do gray shirting and oversigning and medical red shirts and roster management and week week 11 scheduling of cream puffs, which I think is
Oh yeah.
absolutely genius. And we don't do that. We're always playing some tough team in week 11, and they're playing Marist or something like that. But no, I have a lot of respect for Alabama, and I am roll damn tide. I'm gonna be rooting hard for them to just hammer Michigan, and they can't beat them badly enough for me.
Philip, appreciate you, man. Thank you for the 5. As always, how long until there are NFL rules like around college football, NFL like rules around college football? Um, that's a great question. I think the calendar is going to change at some point where you don't have the transfer portal going on at the same time as signing day, and I think that like the summer official visits are crazy to me, in my opinion. I think they benefit Ohio State, but man, these coaches are working now. I mean, they don't get summers off anymore. They got to go host random kids, and they're going to give unlimited official visits is another stupid rule because a lot of these teams just don't have the budget to host. All Ohio State doesn't have to worry about it, but a lot of the smaller schools, like you got to have all these extra kids in for visits, man. It's kind of a waste of time and money. But I think that there's going to be change, and I think that the NFL is the standard. They do things at the highest levels that I think that college football wishes they could do, aka having guys under contract, guys, set terms. That's the hard part is like there's no set terms and kids can leave whenever they want right now, which is crazy. But I think eventually there will be some rules like that. Do you agree with that, Nevada?
Well, yeah, I mean, think about just the biggest fundamental change to college football that's happened in my lifetime is this 12-team playoff next year. I mean, the 12-team playoff basically said, I mean, before the champion of college football was generally crowned by season-long excellence. And it was about being consistent week in, week out from week 1 through week 14 and kind of going through and navigating the landmines of these lesser games and these rivalry games and these out-of-conference games and winning them all and winning the national championship. And next year, it's going to be kind of like the NFL about who's healthy and who's hot come playoff time. And that is a totally different animal than what we've seen before. I mean, if Ohio State slips in as the number 12 seed, but they get their guys back and they're hot and they're healthy and they go out there and they upset somebody in the first round, and now we're playing neutral site games all the way through to the national championship, like that could happen. That could have never happened before in college football. So next year you're going to see profound change, and it's going to be much more like the NFL in that regard. That's for sure. Because look how many times we've seen wild card teams, make the run through the NFL playoffs and win the whole thing. I mean, my Packers, you did that with Rodgers, I think in 10 or whatever they won it. Won it as a wild card. Just went everywhere, just kicked booty and went to the Super Bowl and won and got the prize. So look, that's the way college football is in 2024, and it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I totally agree. What's up, Tora? Tora's in the building. Appreciate you, my friend. I hope you have a great holiday, Christmas, Hanukkah, the whole deal. Appreciate you jumping in here. Yeah, I think that an underrated thing that people don't understand is that the quarterback and throwing game are going to be so important in the playoffs because most of these games are played in good climates or they're indoors. So the physical, brutal running game that you need in the north when it's freezing cold, you'll need that for the first round if you're hosting a playoff game. But after that, man, you're in Jerry World or you're in the Mercedes-Benz Dome or you're in the I don't know what the one in New Orleans. It used to be the Benz Dome. It's got a different name now. I don't know if it's like Caesars maybe, or it's like one of the gambling ones. Or you're in Florida or you're in California for the Rose Bowl or the Orange Bowl. So, I think that Fast Tracks and J.J. Smith and Devin Brown and whoever like that favors Ohio State going forward, in my opinion. So, well, I think we're gonna wrap this thing up. Appreciate you guys. You done with your Napoleon rant, Nevada?
I am. I know I can
Yeah.
go watch a classic. I know I can do it, but I like to go to the movies, man. I want to go to the movies, and I want to see something good.
Yeah,
I'm,
I can't remember the last movie I went to. I really can't. Like I wanted to see Napoleon actually, but I'm glad you said that it sucked because that saves me $20 whatever it costs to go to the movies now.
yeah, not good.
I watched Heartbreak Ridge yesterday. That's a great movie. That's a classic.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
we'll wrap this thing up. Again, appreciate you guys. Thank you for all of the super chats. Again, those are going to pay it forward. Get to this final screen here. Thank you guys as always. We appreciate you guys kicking it with us, tuning in. Might go again tonight. We wanted to get this out of the way before all the NFL games start because we know that you guys are probably going to be tuning into the Bengals Steelers game. We know that generally that's one of the biggest games of the year. along with Browns, Steelers, Browns, Bengals. A lot of Buckeyes are going to be watching that. So thank you guys as always. I hope you guys are enjoying kind of this little 3-day slide into Christmas, and also happy Hanukkah to all of our Jewish friends that are a part of this show. So thank you guys so much. If you enjoyed this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. As always, we appreciate you guys so much for kicking with us. I hope you guys have a great holiday, great Christmas, whatever you guys celebrate it, enjoy your family. If you're not around your family, kick it with us every night because we're always around, and we just appreciate you guys so very, very much. That being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. We'll be back either tonight or tomorrow. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the football, and I'll see you guys on the message boards at BuckeyeScoop.com. Again, if you guys need a last-minute Christmas gift, it's real easy to get anyone you know signed up. If you need something for dad, mom, wife, husband, it's a great gift. Again, it's a gift that is literally nonstop all day, every day. So appreciate you guys that are members of BuckeyeScoop.com. You guys have a great rest of your day. Go Bucks.